Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and greetings. I'm Florian Namak from POA News. We highlight inspiring stories and key moments that shape Africa. Let's begin with Ethiopia and China partnership. Ethiopia and China have reaffirmed their long-standing partnership, recently elevated to an all-weather strategic cooperation relationship during talks between Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Prime Minister Abiy said he welcomed Wang Yi and reflected on the enduring ties between the people and government of both countries. Discussions focused on strengthening development, cooperation, and reaffirmed a shared commitment to advancing Ethiopia's development agenda. The two sides reviewed opportunities to deepen collaboration in key sectors including the economy, trade, infrastructure, energy, and transportation. They also explored expanding cooperation in emerging areas such as e-commerce, the digital economy, artificial intelligence, and green energy, highlighting the evolving scope of Ethiopia-China relation. The visit reflects the continued partnership between Ethiopia and China and their commitment to deepening diplomatic relations. Wang Yi's visit to Ethiopia is part of a broader week-long tour of African countries, which also includes Somalia, Tanzania, and Lesotho, running from January 7 to 12, according to a statement from China's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Senegal's National Assembly President El Malik Ndiaye conducted an official visit to Mauritania, where he was received in Nouakchott by President Mahmoud Ould Ghazouani. Ndiaye, accompanied by Mauritius National Assembly President Mahmoud Bemba Megout and Minister Councillor Tereno Suleiman Diak, exchanged views on enhancing the long-standing fraternal and cooperative relationship between the two countries. During the meeting, Ndiaye emphasized the importance of parliamentary diplomacy in promoting sub-regional integration, peace, sustainable development. Both sides reaffirmed their commitment to deepening collaboration between their institutions, highlighting shared goals in governance and regional cooperation. The visit marks a continuation of efforts to strengthen the ties between Senegal and Mauritania, reflecting a mutual commitment to stability, dialogue, and joint progress in the Western African sub-region.
In Ethiopia, more homes and businesses now have access to electricity. Access to power supports education, healthcare, and local businesses. Light changes lives.
The Republic of Congo has taken another step forward, expanding digital education with the inauguration of a new multimedia room at Lycée Denis Sassou Nguesso in Abala, located in the Nekeni Alima department. The facility was officially opened in December 2025, reinforcing national efforts to improve access to modern learning tools in secondary schools. The multimedia room was developed under the Fund for Access to and Universal Services in Electronic Communication and delivered through the Postal and Electronic Communication Regulatory Authority, which manages the fund. The project is designed to provide a connected learning environment that supports digital literacy and helps bridge the technology gap between urban and rural schools. Abala is among more than 200 localities benefiting from the program, which has seen the deployment of 30 multimedia rooms nationwide. At the Abala High School alone, nearly 90 students are expected to directly benefit from improved access to digital resources, supporting the development of information technology skills and enhancing academic performance. The initiative forms part of a broader national strategy to modernize teaching conditions and strengthen human capital development through the education. Overall, FACU has equipped 211 sites across 203 localities, reaching an estimated 385,000 people. Lagos has been named Africa's most startup-friendly city in the Startup Friendly Cities Index 2026, released by international mobility platform Multipolition, highlighting the city's growing influence as the continent's leading hub for venture-backed innovation. The index ranks cities worldwide based on how attractive they are to founders, investors, and innovators using a two-stage methodology that first assesses national condition. According to the report, Lagos stands out for its stronger founder density, larger market size, and sector diversity, particularly in fintech, e-commerce, and digital infrastructure. The city hosts thousands of early-stage companies and continues to draw local and international capital despite operating in a challenging environment. Multipolition notes that Lagos already have a high potential global startup hub driven by strong entrepreneurial energy and a rapid expanding tech and creative ecosystem. However, it cautions that the city's long-term global standing will depend on faster improvement in infrastructure, regulatory clarity, and overall quality of life. The report highlights persistent constraints in power supply, transport, and broadband access, which force many entrepreneurs to innovate around systemic weaknesses. It adds that targeted investment in the live work district, healthcare, housing, and mobility, alongside clearer regulatory frameworks and more predictable policy environments, would significantly enhance Lagos' attractiveness. The index concludes that Lagos' entrepreneurial pool is too strong to ignore, and that its rise as a global innovation hub will depend on aligning infrastructure, policy, and capital with the pace and ambition of its startup community. Togo introduced electronic invoicing and several fiscal measures to boost revenue and support targeted economic sectors. Certified e-invoice aims to improve transaction traceability, combat VAT fraud, and facilitate audits. A 5% final withholding tax now applies to betting winnings overall, CFA 500,000. The law grants VAT exemptions on livestock and fishery feeds while imposing export taxes on cashew, soybeans, and shea nuts to promote local processing. Social measures include a CFA 120,000 tax credits per employee with disabilities and simplified registration for contracts reserved for youth and women entrepreneurs. The 3.5% duty applies to property revaluation gains. The 2026 budget balances revenue and expenditure at CFA 2,740.5 billion at 14.4% rise from 2025. The Togolese Revenue Authority plays a key role, having collected nearly CFA 830.5 billion by September 2025. The Nairobi Security Exchange has opened 2026 on a strong note, with a broad-based rally pushing total market capitalization close to the landmark KSH 3 trillion levels, underscoring renewed investors' confidence following a robust performance in 2025. Trading activity has surged with more than 28 million shares exchanged in a recent session and turnover rising by over 250% compared with previous days. The rally has been driven largely by blue-chip stocks, particularly in the banking and telecommunications sector, as domestic investors increase their exposure to equities. The NSE All-Share Index climbed nearly 1%, while the NSE 10 and NSE 25 indices also posted gains, signaling a widespread participation across the sector. Safaricom, KSB Group, NCBA, and cooperative bank emerged as key movers, dominating liquidity and anchoring the market's momentum. The current upswing builds on a strong close to 2025, when major indices rose by more than 50%, supported by heightened participation in both equity and fixed income markets. Analysts say lower yields on treasury bills and bonds have promoted investors to shift towards stocks offering stronger growth prospect and dividend returns, with blue chip counters accounting for a large share of wealth gains. "17-year-old Ibrahim Mibai has emerged as one of the standout stars of the Total Energy CAF Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025 after playing a decisive role in Senegal's quarter-final qualification. The Paris Saint-Germain winger scored Senegal's third goal in a 3-1 win over Sudan, becoming the youngest Senegalese goal scorer in African history and the youngest player to score at the tournament in the 21st century. Introduced late in the match, Mibai showed composure beyond his years, sealing victory with pace and precision. Mibai has impressed throughout the competition, providing an assist against DR Congo, winning a crucial penalty versus Benin, and earning praise from teammates, opponents, and coach Pape Thiaw, who described him as a gem to be carefully nurtured. Having chosen to represent Senegal over France, the teenager now heads into a quarter-final clash against Mali as a key weapon for the Teranga Lions and a symbol of Senegal's trust in use on Africa's biggest stage. Let's take a look at the current weather forecast across Africa. That's all for this hour. Thank you for tuning in and goodbye.
El Dorado, a land of wealth, a future of limitless possibilities. This is El Dorado. From natural rich to groundbreaking innovations, discover Africa's untapped potential. El Dorado, unveiling Africa's global potential.
Côte d'Ivoire is not only one of Africa's fastest growing economies, but also the undisputed leader in global cocoa production. Accordingly, accounting for about 40% of the world's supply, cocoa is the backbone of the Ivorian economy, fueling an agriculture sector that employs nearly 2/3 of the population and contributes around 60% of export earnings. This dominance has positioned the country as a critical player in the international chocolate industry. Yet the benefit it reaps remain disproportionately small compared to its contribution. Despite its commanding role in production, Côte d'Ivoire captures only a fraction of the cocoa value chain. Cocoa and related products make up about 30% of total exports, but finished chocolate products represent a mere 2.4% of this figure. The overwhelming majority of exports are raw beans, while the most lucrative stage, processing, branding, marketing, and retailing, are concentrated in developed countries such as Germany, Switzerland, and Netherlands. This imbalance underscores a structural weakness. Côte d'Ivoire provides the raw material, but loses the wealth and opportunities generated by value addition to foreign chocolate makers. For rural communities, cocoa remains a lifeline, yet farmers are trapped in cycles of vulnerabilities. They face low incomes, volatile global prices, and mounting challenge from climate change. Labor shortages are also emerging as a younger generation migrate to urban areas in search of alternative livelihoods, leaving an aging farming population behind. Without targeted interventions such as training programs, technological innovation, and incentives to retain youth in agriculture, the sustainability of cocoa farming could be at risk. Looking ahead, agriculture production in Cote d'Ivoire is projected to grow to 50.2 million metric tons by 2043, but sustaining cocoa's central role in exporting livelihoods will be vital. With 75% of country's land suitable for agriculture, Cote d'Ivoire had the natural endowment not only to maintain its cocoa leadership, but also diversify into other crops, thereby strengthening food security and resilience. The country's reliance on a few export commodities, particularly cocoa, leaves it vulnerable to external shocks such as weather events, fluctuating global demand, and political uncertainties. Diversification of agricultural production and improvements in yields could provide buffers against these risks. At the same time, expanding cocoa processing capacity offers a strategic pathway to industrialization. By investing in local grinding, manufacturing, and branding, Cote d'Ivoire could transform from a supplier of raw beans into a global chocolate powerhouse, capturing greater value and creating jobs across the supply chain. Ultimately, while broader agricultural diversification will be essential to protect food systems and enhance economic resilience, strengthening the cocoa sector through industrialization represents Cote d'Ivoire's most promising opportunity. If the country can shift from exporting beans to exporting chocolate, it will not only secure greater prosperity for its farmers, but also redefine its role in the global economy, moving from being the world's cocoa farm to becoming a world-class chocolate producer. Industrialization stands as a central pillar of Cote d'Ivoire's national development plan, and cocoa, its most prized agricultural product, is uniquely positioned to drive this transformation. As the world's leading producer of cocoa beans, the country has both the skill and the heritage to turn its raw output into a foundation for industrial growth. Yet, despite this immense potential, most of Cote d'Ivoire's cocoa still leaves the country unprocessed, while other sectors such as rubber and fruit are steadily advancing toward industrialization. A web of barriers has kept the cocoa sector from realizing its full promise. High energy and input costs make domestic processing expensive and often uncompetitive. Weak urban and industrial infrastructure, coupled with logistical inefficiencies like cumbersome road checkpoints, further constrain progress. Limited access to finance and modern technology for local processors compounds the challenge, while the dominance of powerful multinational buyers who control much of the global chocolate market and supply chains reduce Cote d'Ivoire's leverage in capturing greater value from its own harvest. The opportunity, however, is immense. By shifting from raw bean export to semi-finished products such as cocoa paste, butter and powder, or even to fine chocolate, the country could unlock new stream of prosperity. Beyond traditional products, innovation in cocoa byproducts such as animal feed or biochar derived from pod husks offers additional avenues to expand value addition and diversify the sector. The economic impact of such a transformation would be profound. Under a manufacturing-driven scenario, Cote d'Ivoire's industrial contribution to GDP could reach $58.3 billion by 2043, representing a $9.8 billion increase over the current trajectory. Properly industrialized cocoa could serve as a cornerstone for this leap, enabling the country to expand its manufacturing base, climb the global value ladder, and secure a more resilient and prosperous future. The opportunities for Cote d'Ivoire's cocoa sector extend far beyond traditional export market and domestic consumption. With its unmatched production capacity, the country has the potential to become a regional hub for cocoa processing and chocolate manufacturing, supplying not only local consumers but also the broader African market. This shift would diversify risk, reduce dependence on volatile international markets, and expand Cote d'Ivoire's economic footprint. As Africa's middle class continues to grow, demand for high-quality, locally produced chocolate products is rising, creating fertile ground for Cote d'Ivoire to capture new markets and establish itself as the continent's chocolate capital. Through transformation, however, across the entire cocoa value chain, boosting farm productivity, expanding processing capacity, and strengthening branding and logistics are essential steps to meet both regional and international demand. Farmers must be more deeply integrated into the value chain, with cooperatives supported to establish small-scale processing and packaging facilities. Profit-sharing models and ownership stakes in processing ventures could empower farming communities, ensuring they benefit directly from value addition. By processing raw cocoa into butter, powder, liquor, and finished chocolate products, Cote d'Ivoire can also stimulate the growth of additional industries such as packaging, logistics, and marketing. These industries would diversify the economy and generate much-needed employment, particularly for youth and women. Encouragingly, Cote d'Ivoire already leads Africa in installed and utilized cocoa grinding capacity, demonstrating progress toward this vision. Beyond economic growth, Cote d'Ivoire is emerging as a sustainability leader. In 2024, the country received $35 million payout from the World Bank for cutting 7 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions by protecting forests vital to cocoa cultivation. This achievement underscores the importance of embedding sustainability at the heart of cocoa development. Expanding agroforestry and enforcing better land management practices can strengthen resilience, improve yields, and unlock access to climate finance. Climate-smart cocoa farming, integrating soil restoration, water management, and biodiversity protection must become the norm. Agroforestry, where cocoa is cultivated under the shade of other trees, not only reduces carbon emission but also protects against soil erosion and enhances long-term productivity. Sustainability is more than an environmental imperative, it is an economic opportunity. Global consumers are increasingly demanding ethically sourced and environmentally friendly products. Meeting these standards will allow Cote d'Ivoire to access premium markets, elevate its global reputation, and ensure that its cocoa industry thrives in a future where responsibility and resilience are as valued as quality. By combining industrialization with sustainability, Cote d'Ivoire can transform its cocoa sector into a powerful engine of prosperity, innovation, and global leadership. To fully unlock the potential of its cocoa sector, Cote d'Ivoire must move beyond exporting raw beans and invest heavily in domestic processing. By climbing the value chain, the country can retain more wealth and ensure that cocoa becomes a true engine of prosperity. Supporting farmers is central to this transformation. Through better training, improved access to technology, and fairer farm gate prices, infrastructure will also play a decisive role. Under the large infrastructure and leapfrogging scenario, Cote d'Ivoire is projected to achieve a 96.3% national electrification rate by 2043, a milestone that provides the energy needed to power industries and expand processing capacity. At the same time, leveraging the African Continental Free Trade Area offers a pathway to reduce trade barriers, expanding regional markets, and improve the country's trade balance. By tapping into Africa's growing demand for semi-finished and finished cocoa products, Cote d'Ivoire can diversify its customer base and reduce dependence on volatile global markets. Strengthening rural infrastructure is equally critical. Poor roads, limited coverage facilities, and inadequate market access currently lead to high post-harvest losses and keep farmers isolated from lucrative opportunities. Improved transport links would not only aid the movement of goods but also facilitate the flow of information, technology, and innovation into rural communities. This would help farmers modernize their practice, increase productivity, and connect more effectively with regional and international buyers. Financial inclusion is another essential piece of the puzzle. Tailored financial services such as credit lines, microloans, and insurance products would empower smallholder farmers and cocoa entrepreneurs to invest in productivity, enhancing inputs while protecting themselves against climate shocks and price volatility. Access to finance would also encourage innovation and entrepreneurship, enabling farmers and cooperatives to take part in value-added activities rather than remaining confined to raw bean production. Public-private partnership will be indispensable in building a robust cocoa value chain. Collaboration between government agencies, private investors, NGOs, and farmer cooperatives can drive innovation, expand processing capacity, and ensure sustainability. Yet the path forward is not without obstacles. Raw bean alone will not propel Côte d'Ivoire to upper middle income status. The global chocolate market is dominated by multinational corporations whose bargaining power, diversified supply chains, and ability to stockpile cocoa limit producer influence. These companies often purchase cocoa through future markets, further reducing the ability of producing countries to affect short-term prices. In response, Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana launched the Côte d'Ivoire-Ghana Cocoa Initiative in 2019, sometimes referred to as Cocoa OPEC, to coordinate pricing and improve farmer incomes. However, multinational pushbacks and weak enforcement have made progress difficult, underscoring the challenge of reshaping global supply chains. The future of Côte d'Ivoire's economy could be as rich and rewarding as the finest dark chocolate, but only if the country moves beyond exporting raw potential and begins exporting finished goods. Broadening and solidifying its agricultural portfolio will reduce vulnerabilities and ensure domestic food demands are met, while cocoa remains the flagship opportunity to transform industry on a large scale. If Côte d'Ivoire succeeds in industrializing its cocoa sector, capturing more export value, and embedding sustainability as its core, it may one day rival Switzerland, not just as a supplier of beans, but as a premier global chocolate powerhouse.
El Dorado, a land of wealth, a future of limitless possibilities. This is El Dorado. From natural rich to groundbreaking innovations, discover Africa's untapped potential. El Dorado, unveiling Africa's global